Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Holly Shand to show you guys the very best wildcard team for game week 6 according to AI. The team is on screen right now, but you guys can't see any of the players, I'm sorry. So what we're going to do is one by one, we are going to go through each player and talk about why they are in the team. Now it's worth mentioning that before we get into this and go through the entire team, this team will change across the week, midweek games, injuries, anything can happen. So if you want to keep up to date with how the team is looking at the time you're watching this or as close to the game week 6 deadline as you possibly can, I mean, this is the week to do it right. You need to know what the AI is saying, what the predicted points are of these key players right up until the deadline. Then go ahead, click the link in the description. Make sure you are signed up to Fantasy Football Hub. It is still 50% off at the time of recording, despite the fact that we are multiple weeks into the season now. So do it while you still can. This wildcard is probably the most important chip that you're going to play this season. I would say it is the most powerful chip, and the first one is super strong. This is going to be your team for what? Maybe 25, 30 game weeks. So you need to get this right. No pressure, but just saying. So yeah, make sure you're signed up. Link down below. Okay, Holly, pleasure to have you on. Bit of a long intro, but it's a very important video. That's all I can say. Let's start things off with the goalkeeper and reveal that it's Flecken and Valdemarson as the keepers. The Brentford double up. Not that surprising. A great run of fixtures.
Yeah, and Brentford were in this situation now where finally those good fixtures have arrived. We've been looking at game week 6 for so long as this is the time to target Brentford, but that Brentford defence has had a very solid start to the season, and Flecken, we know what he can do in terms of his clean sheet potential, but also save points as well. So you're getting plenty of routes to points out of him. He's definitely looking like the best of the goalkeepers that started the season at 4.5 million.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he's nailed it on in my wildcard 6 team. There's no doubt about that. Just such a good run of fixtures. Okay, let's move on to the defenders now. This is where it gets a little bit more, I think, tricky. We'll see who's not been selected here, and it might surprise a few of you. Let's start with Robertson in the team. He's a player that the AI has loved, really, from the beginning of pre-season. His predicted points have always been super high, and obviously he's been very attacking this year so far. He makes his way into the team.
Yeah, and Robertson and Trent, we've seen them predicted very similarly throughout the season so far. But the fact that Robertson is 1 million cheaper roughly than Trent means that he's the one that comes into the squad to allow for funds into the attack as well. So you need to make that saving, basically. It's still important to get on board the Liverpool defence because they have had a very good start to the season. But saving that 1 million is also crucial.
Yeah, there we go. Holly's just revealed it. No Trent in this team. As you can see, guys, over on the right-hand side of the screen, predicted points, just what Holly is talking about here. Over the next 4 game weeks, Trent and Robertson, according to the Fantasy Football Hub's AI tool and predicted points, yeah, Robertson is actually marginally ahead. Can't see that here, but they're both predicted to score roughly 17 points. As Holly says, is it worth the extra outlay? I'm not sure. According to the data, apparently it's not. I think I'm going to struggle not to go with Trent, but as we go across the rest of the team, it's where you make that 1 million saving to enable him. I'm not sure if it's possible. Let's reveal the Arsenal double up, because I love the fact that they're in this team, and again, I think that these two are very likely to be in my squad.
Yeah, and I definitely overlooked the Arsenal defence at the start of the season. The fixtures in 4 and 5 didn't help us there. But we're now at the stage where we can embrace the good fixtures going forward. We know that Arsenal don't concede many big chances on their goal. So the double up is highly viable. Those that went with it last season were richly rewarded. So it's great to see the AI backing it basically at the first opportunity after those couple of tricky fixtures to really jump on board. And, Gabriel's got that goal threat. We know that, White's that little bit more expensive. The left back position isn't completely nailed. So to double up with Saliba is the best route at the moment. Interesting that they've gone this route and not gone with Raya in goal, who, of course, continues to top the goalkeeper rankings.
Yeah, absolutely. Raya's one that I think a lot of people will be jumping on. But as you say, is that necessarily the best use of cash going forward? You can't look too much at previous points. I don't think necessarily when picking your team for future weeks. You have to just assess it as what you expect is going to happen from that week onwards. Anyway, that's what I think. Maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe that's why my rank isn't great. Who knows? Nonetheless, let's jump into the rest of the defense. And it's as budget as it can possibly be on the bench. Second defender slot is Faz, 4.1 million, and then just ahead of him is Greaves.
Yeah, and I think we're very lucky this season in the fact that we've got so many 4 million defenders that do start and play regular minutes. Yes, the majority are from the promoted sides, but that doesn't mean that they're bad picks in FPL. They can do a job when needed. They're cheap to have on your bench, and they do rotate nicely as well. So there will be game weeks where we will need to utilize them, and they can come in, and that's what the AI does for us, is make those calculations of if there's a week where one of our main defenders has got a poor fixture where one of these could do a job.
I like as well that both of them do have at least a little bit of goal threat. They're not just never ever going to get an attacking return. We've seen Faz do it before. Greaves, I know, doesn't have the best goals record if you look back over his career, but even just at the start of the season, just that Liverpool game, for example, he looked like he could definitely score a goal. He has that in him. So you never know. Even if you were forced to play these guys, yeah, you could get a special return, and there's nothing better than, in my opinion, than an auto sub 4 million defender coming through with a huge haul. I remember Soyuncu in the past doing that, although I never got the points. He was stuck on my bench. But yeah, we all remember Lundstrom, for example. All right, let's move on to the midfield. Let's go from the bottom to the top, I think, in terms of value. So revealing first, our first bench player, or at least the player who was number one on the bench for this week, game week 6, it's Morgan Rogers.
Yeah, and he's a player who has looked great so far this season. Aston Villa's attack is certainly worth investing in, and Rodgers at this price point, given that he continues to play 90 minutes every game, looks like a good one to buy. And I think even if you don't start him every week as an 8th attacker, to be on our bench, he's a great first sub as well. So I'm very pleased to have a slice of the Aston Villa attack with him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those that's in a lot of teams right now. And yeah, I think you're right. Just predicted minutes going forward, I still think are super, super high for him. Okay, now let's move on to the next midfielder, and it is Semenyo at 5.6 million with just a beautiful run of fixtures coming up. He's already had a really good start to the season, maybe surprisingly for some. But yeah, just those fixtures, I'm looking at just the next two, look so good for him.
Yeah, we seem to be winning off the Solanke transfer away from Bournemouth, and also the reclassification to a midfield. And his shot volume has been incredible so far this season. He's mixing it up there with the Haalands and the Ezes of the world. So, it just feels like more returns are to come for him. And you look at where Bournemouth are in the fixture ticker, looking at Southampton at home, which is a great entry point for him. I've got high hopes for him.
Yeah, let's move on to a player you just mentioned. Eze is next. Yeah, just another one whose underlying data has been so good this year.
Yeah, and he's probably been unfortunate not to deliver more in the opening 5 game weeks, but we know his potential, his set piece involvement. And you look at that Crystal Palace attack with Eze feeding Mateta and Nketiah, who are both really hungry for goals. Like when that front 3 really starts to click, I think Eze is going to be absolute gold, and we just need to stay patient with him. He is a player that holds firm from the pre-wildcard team for the AI.
Okay, let's move on to 2 big players here. Starting off with Saka, who, again, like those Arsenal defenders, the next 2 are looking so good for him, especially. I mean, outside shout of a captaincy option for this week, I would say. But yeah, he's made his way into the team, but he's not the most expensive midfielder.
Yeah, so Arsenal topping the fixture ticker kind of means that Saka has to be in there as the talisman on the side, the penalty taker. My only concern would be his current fitness record, but he's just been unstoppable in FPL over the last few seasons. And looking at those upcoming Arsenal fixtures, you can't go without him, particularly those next 2 games, 2 promoted teams at home. You expect some big scores from Arsenal in those 2 games.
And then moving on to the final midfielder, you guys might be able to notice that this is not a red player. So no Salah, but it is Palmer. There we go. 10.6 million in the team. Yeah, no Salah in this one. That is the major news, Holly. Palmer comes in.
Yeah, but you look at Chelsea's next 2, Brighton at home and Forest at home. there is some attraction in those fixtures. And I think, we know how sensational Palmer was last season. Hopefully that form, that consistency will come back for this campaign. That's what we really need to see from him. But he's got the pedigree in FPL now. So fingers crossed he can deliver for us.
Okay, now let's move on to the forwards, starting with the cheapest player once again. João Pedro is in the team, despite the fact that the fixtures now, just on paper, I suppose, don't look phenomenal. His predicted points are still really strong. Maybe I'm getting that wrong. I don't know. It's one of those where you look at Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle, you think, yeah, it's not great. But actually, for a forward in a pretty free-scoring Brighton team, I mean, they score when they want, I suppose. They're not the most consistent team. Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, that's the thing. You look at those games and you think, yeah, Brighton can score in those games. And we know how important João Pedro is to their goal threat. He's a player that when he's fit plays 90 minutes pretty much every game. He's on penalties as well. So he's proven over the opening 5 game weeks of the season that he can get the returns no matter how difficult the fixtures may appear. So I think you've just got to, back him. I think the thing that held him back last season was a lack of consistency in minutes. But I think given that Brighton aren't involved in Europe this season, we're not going to have that same issue. So I think João Pedro is a great pick for the long term.
Absolutely. Okay, and then revealing the next player, it's another budget option. To be fair, this year I'm not sure we've had that many picks in the sort of mid-priced category that have really come to the fore so far. I mean, there have been a couple, obviously, but it's Chris Wood. Who's in, again, a cheaper option, but looking at that Fulham fixture, predicted to do really well straight away. I think it's actually he's predicted to score the 4th highest points in this entire team behind Saka, Palmer, and then another man that's about to be revealed who you can probably expect is in the side. But yeah, Wood is in.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Wood is those 2 home games, we know how good Nottingham Forest are at home, and he's got that consistency. He's a regular in the team. He's had a very good start to the season. And I think, Nottingham Forest are a team that have impressed us generally at the start of this season, carried on that form that we saw at the end of last season, and Chris Wood was among that as well. So I think the forward spots are the most difficult to pin down on a wild card, and it's maybe the budget here is driven by which players you want to own elsewhere. But in this category, Chris Wood's probably the pick of the bunch at the moment for 6.5 million or less.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can see in the bank we have 0.2 million. It's very, very tight. This is actually based on my budget, which I think is pretty standard. It's something like 100.4 or roughly like that. I'm not sure what the selling price is, but it's around 100 million really. So I'm sure that the vast majority of you would be able to get to this team. But yeah, it's tight and there really isn't much wiggle room at all. And I think, to be fair, that's shown by the bench. A player that, a slot that I'd love to have would be a Nottingham Forest defender, just based on everything you've just been saying as well. Super strong at home. Wood looks great, but I think defensively as well, they look great. But you can't. There's not really enough money to upgrade one of those 4 million defenders to a 4.4 or 4.5. I mean, I'm just a few 0.1 short, really. Yeah, it's tough this season. I like it. We've been saying it all season, but there are great players at lots of different prices, and a lot of them have been priced accordingly based on last year. Let's move on now to the main man. Now, if you guys are new to the channel or you haven't yet seen one of our best game week X wildcard teams, you probably won't be that shocked to see that this is obviously Erling Haaland. However, Holly, just explain to the people if they are new that this is the first time I think that we're seeing Haaland in one of these teams. Why is that?
Yeah, so we've seen a bit of a swing in the fixtures now, which means that Haaland is predicted to outscore Salah, certainly in the next few weeks, and be the best captain pick consistently, whereas last week, the AI was still tied down with the fact that Haaland faced Arsenal, whereas Salah had the plum fixture for captaincy at home to Bournemouth. And I think the reason why the AI hadn't been back in Haaland was that it liked that Saka and Palmer combo, as well as Salah pretty much matching him in terms of not only his predicted output, but his actual output over the first 5 game weeks of the season. But the pendulum has now swung. Again, it's probably worth noting that Salah isn't too far away from making his way into this AI wildcard team for game week 6. But this has been the tipping point for the AI team that I've been helping to run, which has been using the AI transfer decisions each week to activate its wildcard for game week 6 to now get Haaland in, because we knew that this point was coming where we would see the scales tip in favour of Haaland over Salah.
Okay, and there we go. So that is it. That is the team right now at the time of recording. You know, we're recording this very early on in the week, to the extent that I have now removed the team from the screen, because that is how much I'm confident that there'll probably be, well, I mean, something's going to happen, isn't it, in this week? We wanted to get this video out as quickly as possible for you guys so you can start thinking about your Game Week 6 wildcard teams with this in mind. But any sort of injury, you know, any sort of news, we obviously have no press conference information at all right now, is more than likely going to change an aspect of this team. As Holly has just said, a lot of these sort of drafts are very, very close together in terms of predicted points across the next few game weeks. So some sort of information, that, you know, some change to what we know right now will affect this best wildcard draft. I'm sorry, it's just true. That's the nature of the game that we play. So if you do want to keep up to date with how the wildcard draft is looking, when you're watching this video, there's a chance it's already changed, to be completely honest with you, no matter when you're watching it, then click the link in the description. It will take you right there. That's all you got to do. You do need to sign up, but it's still 50% off at the time of recording. There's still a free trial going on. And I do believe that we're still running the win your mini league or your money back guarantee. I don't even talk about that much because it's just so insane. And a lot of people don't believe me. But I don't know how many times I can tell you this, guys. If you sign up to Fantasy Football Hub and you do not win your mini league this season, and obviously that means you can look at all the stuff that we've shown in this video, all the stats, have a look at your own team as well, of course, and everything else, then you will get all your money refunded to you. Simple as that. You know, if you don't believe us, then we refunded a lot of people last year. You know, people in the comments will be saying, I got my money refunded. It's crazy, but it's true. So yeah, click the link in the description. Make sure you're signed up. Good luck this game week. If you're on a wild card, let us know. Can you beat the predicted points of the game week 6 best wildcard team according to AI? Holly, thank you very much for going through that. And I'll be interested to see, because we're both on game week 6 wildcards, aren't we? We're going to see how we end up. How close do you reckon you're going to be to the team?
Probably about half of the players in here, I think, will make it in.
I think I might be more on like 8 or 9, to be honest. As in from I really like that first 11. I'm not going to be far away from that at all. Just the one thing I think is I might need a little bit more depth just for the human side of things. I don't know. Yeah, let's see. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.